Hi everyone. I'm glad to be back. As I said in my previous video, I'm shooting this very early on the morning of the 30th of 12, so forgive my appearance, I've only just woken up, but I've got a busy day today. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about my review of the year. So this is me just talking about the books that I have read, the books that I liked, the books I didn't like, and also I want to show you the books that I got for Christmas. So let's do the Christmas stuff first because that's so much fun to do. Now, I didn't get specific books from people for Christmas. I got gift cards. And I like gift cards. I don't find, some people think they're quite impersonal, but I don't, because it allows you to have the freedom to pick up books that you've been wanting to buy for a while. And that is so true of what I bought yesterday, because I had loyalty cards for Waterstones as well. So as along with gift card that I got, I had an extra £10 off anything in store in Waterstones, so I had £35 worth of vouchers, and I came out with 6 books. But in addition to that, I also got, in order to get my last loyalty stamp, I first got the latest Shard Lake series dramatisation production of Revelation. The Heartstone is going to be coming out next year as well, which I'm really looking forward to. But that meant I got my last loyalty stamp, which secured the £10 £10 extra discount. So yes, I was very happy to get Revelation. I was going to buy it anyway, regardless of if I needed the loyalty stamp or not. So that was an extra little treat to myself. But anyway, out with the gift cards and the extra £10 discount, I managed to get a little stack of absolutely glorious books. So let's start with the fiction. So I got 4 fiction books. 2 are young adult and 2 are just general fiction. So let's do the young adult first. So the first is one that I've been picking up and putting down for a while in Waterstones, which is T is for Tree by Greg Fowler. Now this follows a boy called Eddie who lives in his room. He doesn't know why he just stays in his room. He only comes out like whenever it's shower day, but I don't know exactly the time period, if it's like once a week or maybe longer, I don't know. He doesn't know why he's there. He's just locked up in his bedroom. He is a special boy, but I don't know what that means exactly. That's how it's described on the back of the book. And then he has no friends. He's just, whatever he sees out his window is all the only world that he sees. And one day, someone called Regan, a girl called Regan, should I say, moves in across the road and sees him through the window, and through Regan he comes to learn about the world, and he gets introduced to things, and there's a tree that's growing kind of into the room, his bedroom, and it's all to do with this connection and what the tree means and what will happen if he touches it, with being a special boy. I just find it a really intriguing concept. It does remind me of is it everybody no, everything, because of that thing of not being able to go outside and there's somebody across the road who sees that kind of thing, but this kind of extra element to it. And with the tree, I find it really intriguing. So I picked up T is for Tree by Greg Fowler. Okay, next is one that's actually going to be made into a film, as far as I know. But I've been picking up this one for a while as well, called Dumpling by Julie Murphy. Now, Dumpling is about a girl called Willow Dean Dixon, but everybody calls her Dumpling, in her hometown. She's overweight, she loves her weight, she doesn't care what people think, and she comes into contact with this guy, a private school boy called Beau, I think it was. yeah, Boo, and he likes her, and he can't understand why. And in order to say to the world, this is me, this is who I am, I don't care. She enters herself into a beauty pageant, and it's all about things that happen with her and everything in this beauty pageant. And as the tagline says, go big or go home. I think that's a really interesting story to write. And as I said, there's a film version being made of this with the actress who's playing Dumpling. I saw her in a film, and the film has completely gone out of my head, but I'll put it in description, in which she played a young overweight girl who loves rapping, and my god, this girl can rap. She was absolutely fantastic in that film. And she's a really, really good actress. She's an Australian actress, so she's going to be awesome, I think, in this film as well, adaptation of this book. But I really would like to read the book. So that's Dumpling. Okay, next are my two fiction books, which are just, general fiction. So the first one is The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry. Now, this is a book that I've had people tell me is good, people tell me it's all right. They really want to know how I feel about it. And I've picked it up a few times. I haven't felt really intrigued to buy it. I bet it was on the buy one get one half price offer, and I was like, you know what, if I get it for like £4 instead of £8, I don't mind that, because if it's good, I've got it at a bargain, and if it's, I'm not that fond of it, I only paid half price for it, so that's my justification for it. So The Essex Serpent is set in 1893, where a woman called Cora has just lost her husband, and she very much believes in scientific fact about everything, and she hears about this serpent in Essex. Is kind of, and it's sort of described kind of in a legendary kind of manner, but she's really intrigued by it. So she takes her son to Essex to try and find it. It's this scientific discovery, but in her journey to find it, she comes in contact with a man called William, and William believes a kind of more a fantasy-esque kind of world. He's not really that the way that Cora is, where everything can be explained by science, scientific fact and everything. And it's about these two characters that go on this journey to find this serpent, what they learn from each other, and what they find along the way. Now, from that description, to me, that means it's going to be a romance sort of thing, which is not a bad thing at all, but it's just a bit like obvious to me, and maybe that's what has kind of stopped me from picking it up, but I don't know. But as I said, for half price, I'll give it a go and see how it goes. So that's The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry. And the last fiction is one that has been tagged as this a new version, as it were, of The Handmaid's Tale. And because The Handmaid's Tale was out, the TV drama, every bookshop in the UK that, obviously because I live in the UK, that I've been to, had this, or every bookshelf had loads of copies of this, and alongside it, or just below it, had loads and loads of copies of The Handmaid's Tale. And you can tell that the publishers have followed The Handmaid's Tale because it's all red. And that is The Power by Naomi Alderman. This has won so many awards, and Margaret Atwood, who wrote The Handmaid's Tale, has actually reviewed it at the top there, called it and referred to it as electrifying. Now, this is a book that has got such an intriguing concept, and it is that around the world, women have discovered that if they, like, a flick of their fingers, they are able to inflict pain and death on people because they have the power to transfer electricity through themselves. And it's all about when women have a power that men do not have, what happens? And so that is The Power. people went nuts over this book, absolutely nuts. And as I said, it was in the buy one get one half price offer. So I thought, you know what, let's go for it. Let's see what this is like. I'm really quite intrigued to read it now. The feminism piece and everything. And I love the end of the description. The story on the back says, "The day of the girls has arrived, but where will it end?" I think that's a very interesting line to have on a book. Now, the last two books I have are non-fiction. The first one I am so excited to read, and that is Take Courage, Anne Bronte and the Art of Life. Now, this is so intriguing. I have been picking this up and putting this down for months in Waterstones, especially since I read The Tenant at Wildfell Hall. And it's just come out on paperback because we had two copies in Waterstones yesterday, one hardback, one paperback. I went for the paperback because it was like £5 cheaper. But anyway, the thing is that this is written by Samantha Ellis. Samantha Ellis has been a lifelong lover of Wuthering Heights and Jane Eyre. She always thought Anne was, the less talented sister. She had no interest in reading her whatsoever. Until the day she decided to read one of Anne's books, and she was absolutely blown away by it. So she went on a journey to find out as much as she possibly could about Anne, and this book follows her journey from when she first read Anne's work all the way through to finding out the very end of Anne's story. So it's not just a biography, it's a really personal account of this woman following and finding out about this feminist icon who she thought was not worth looking at. And it's so intriguing, the fact that I always knew that Anne was talented, but I just never picked up her book before. And then when I picked it up this year, I was kicking myself for not having read it sooner, because it was absolutely glorious, and I was flabbergasted that a woman in her 20s was able to write about subjects that she had never encountered in such a realistic manner. It was wonderful. So this, just for me, just screams personally to me. This is me. This is so perfect for me. So I am so excited to read in full, because I've obviously read bits in bookshop. Take Courage, Anne Bronte and the Art of Life by Samantha Ellis. And the final one is kind of one I've taken a chance on, because Ariel, who, from talking about who I sent links to and everything in the description of the video, with my sister talking about competitive reading and booktubing and such. Ariel got this book for Christmas, and she was like really beaming about it, and they had a copy. I was just going past the biography section because I went to grab the Anne Bronte book, and it was just sat there. Like I think it was the next bookshelf over from when the Anne Bronte book was, and I just instantly stopped because I knew I'd seen her talking about it, and I picked it up and I started reading, and I really liked it. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to take a chance on this one, and that is 84 Charing Cross Road by Helen Handel. Sorry. She was a woman in 1949 who she was quite poor, and she was living in the area of London, and she wrote to 84 Charing Cross Road because it was a bookshop and she wanted to find this book, and books got sent to her, got delivered to her by the owner, and as time went on, she kept on going back to them, and she started up a friendship with the owner, and it was all through letters that they shared. And this is a collection of their absolutely beautiful letters to each other, their correspondence. It's just so beautiful. In 1949, how society reflected on things, how they feel about certain things, how they talk to each other. It's beautiful, and it goes all the way to, I think it's 1971, isn't it? Yeah, 1971 it goes to, from 1949 to 1971, in this collection of letters, and it's just, oh, it's so lovely. So I'm really excited to fully read 84 Charing Cross Road. So there we go. So that is my Christmas book haul. Let's hold it up. So this my absolutely lovely stack of books, all of which are going to be going into my jars, and we'll see what I think of them when they get pulled out jars. Okay, so that is my Christmas book haul. Now, it's time to talk about the books that I've read during the year. Sorry, I just got to grab a couple more off the floor because I've got so many books around me. So this year I have been doing lots of stuff. I've been able to be properly social, because the year before we're doing 52 books. All I did was work, sleep, eat and read. I didn't do anything else. So I got to go see films that I wanted to see, and go to the theatre and meet up with friends, and I went on holiday. I had my wonderful holiday. Well, I had two holidays. I had the split holiday between Stratford and Bath, which my sister tagged along for as well for the Bath, and we did we did some videos, and I also had my week in Stratford alone, which was absolutely wonderful. I got a load of writing done. I've expanded my writing and everything. I redid my college course in creative writing because I was expanding my writing. I wanted to redo it and everything. And I had a wonderful time, met various new people and everything. The Cheltenham Literary Festival was awesome. As you guys saw, I bought loads and loads of books, as I do every year. And yeah, I've just had such a fab year of just exploring stuff and doing stuff that I wanted to do, and it was absolutely wonderful. Now, in the process, because I was taking my time and because I was doing various other things, I read, let's have a look, 27 books this year, which compared to the previous year of 52 is much lower, but I don't care about that, because it's not about the numbers, it's about the books, how they made me feel and everything. And I had a blast reading this year, and in these 27 books I read a total of 12,303 pages. Wow. And that included the Stephen King book with very, very, very small text. The book version I borrowed from my dad was like 900 odd pages, but if you look at the printed version, the paperback and everything that you can get today of it, I mean, it's still tiny print, and it's nearly 1,200 pages or something. So yeah, if I had got the most recent publication of it, then the number would be higher still. But anyway, let's stop and talk about that. Let's talk about my favourite books of the year. My top 3, and there's actually 4, because I was like, I have a tied 3rd place. Okay, so let's have a look at my top books this year. So for tied 3rd place, we have Anne Bronte's The Tenant of Wildfell Hall and Irvine Welsh's Filth. 2 very, very different books. As you know, as I just mentioned, I actually fell in love with Anne Bronte's writing, The Tenant of Wildfell Hall. I was kicking myself for not having read it sooner. It's such a wonderful feminist piece. The way that she's able to convey things that she had never experienced in her life in such a believable, realistic manner, so pure, so full of heart, and her talent was just extraordinary. So I haven't stopped thinking of The Tenant of Wildfell Hall since I finished reading it. It was only 2 books ago. Yeah, because it was The Rival Queens, which I've just finished. It was the book before The Rival Queens. So yeah. It wasn't that long ago that I read it, but I just can't stop thinking about it. So I think that proves that it was a good book. And another book that I can't stop thinking, which I read 2 books before that, Filth by Irvine Welsh. This was one of the hardest books that I read this year, not just because of the dialect, but because, because the Scottish dialect, as I mentioned in my review of it, but because of what happens. It's not just a dark book, it plunges you in the deepest, darkest pit that you can ever possibly think of. It is that dark, but the story is absolutely phenomenal, and Bruce, our protagonist, is one of those disgusting characters I've ever come across, but he had me just, as the story went on, my heart was absolutely breaking, and the ending got me absolutely choked up. It was, wow. So there we go. So my joint third is The Tenant Wildfire Hall and Filth. Okay, second place goes to a non-fiction book, and this was so hard to separate books two from one, but I was like, no, I can't have a joint again. I need to separate these two. So in second place, it is the phenomenal Another Day in the Death of America by Gary Younge, which follows 24 hours in America and the children that are killed by guns in that 24-hour period. He tells you their life story, and it absolutely broke my heart. I was in a floods of tears. This was one of the most phenomenal reads, and as he says in this book, this isn't a comment on gun control. This is not me preaching that, my thoughts on gun control. This is what happens in a country where there is no gun control. He's just telling you this story. And I was very, very lucky to meet Gary Younge at the Cheltenham Literature Festival and talk to him for a while. And he signed my book. He was absolutely wonderful to listen to. Him talk about this book at the festival, and I was just absolutely blown away by his work. I mean, I've loved Gary's work because he's a columnist here in the UK, but this was by far the most amazing piece of journalism that I've read in a long while. So yeah, so he goes in at number 2, and number 1 goes to a book that just, oh my god, I adored it. And that was War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. This mammoth brick of a book that took me 3 weeks and 1 day, to be precise, to read. I was gutted that when I wanted to finish it in the 3 weeks, but I couldn't keep my eyes open. I had about 50 or 60 pages left, so I left that 50 or 60 pages for the very last day, the extra day, and I will never forget emotions that I went through with this book. I will never forget the way in which Leo describes war, the sacrifice, the questions that humanity has to ask about themselves when it comes to different wars. The characters like Pierre and Natasha, just everything about it was extraordinary. And this was my first book read of 2017, and it was just wow. That's all I can say on it. So those were my favourite books of the year. Now, least favourite books of the year, and both of these are prose pieces. So to be able to think about my least favourite books, it was very hard to choose a least favourite non-fiction, which is why I haven't got one here. Now, with non-fiction, the reason why is because, thinking back, I really enjoyed all the books that I read. I mean, some things I did grumble a bit, but it was like, oh, compared to another author who has written about the same subject, I didn't like this one as much. But that's because I'm I have that grumble because I'm making the comparison. It's not about that individual book. So because of that, I decided not to do a least favourite non-fiction because I just couldn't pick one. But I have two least favourite fiction. And the first one was Hex by Thomas Oldhuvet. Now, I liked Hex. There was the ending, it was quite flawed for me. The location didn't work for me. Because it was originally set, because he's from the Netherlands, he's from Holland. It was originally set in this small like Holland village and everything. But then when the English translation version came along, he changed it to be set just outside New York, and it was like, no, it didn't work for me. If he had left it in its original location, I think it would have worked so much better, because it would totally make sense than being cut off from civilization, rather than saying, oh, we're cut off by civilization, but New York's just there. You know, it just didn't quite work for me, and the ending was a bit of a cop-out, apart from, because it was the one character who we had by themselves at the end. I was happy with that bit, but for everyone else, what happened to them was a cop-out to me. So because of that, I did enjoy it, but at the same time, I kept on grumbling to myself whilst reading this book. So I have to say, I was so gutted, because I really loved the concept and everything, and certain characters were really great in it, and certain bits of it was strong. One of my least favourite books to read this year was Hex by Thomas Oldhuvet. And my other least favourite, I got it in a charity shop for like £1, and I think I spent £1 more than I should have done, was Marian Keyes' This Charming Man. Oh God, let me just try and summarise this without having a rant. The way in which she conveyed certain things that characters go through, that it was just not realistic at all. I was like yelling at characters, going, what, into my book, at characters like, what the hell are you doing? It was just like, girl, stop this. No. Lola drove me up the wall. I couldn't stand her, and she's one of the main characters. It was just, oh, no. And that's as much as I'm going to say, because if I carry on, I'm going to start ranting. So that was my favourite books and my least favourite books of the year. So to finish this off, let's talk about favourite authors. And you've already seen them. And they were Gary Young and Leo Tolstoy. Both of these authors are just phenomenal. They share the same ability. And that is an ability to place you in a location, in a situation that you never find yourself before, and be able to tell you everything about the world and a certain area in the smallest amount of words with the biggest amount of detail. Both of these men are just extraordinary. I will gladly read anything else that they produce. That these two pieces in particular are going to be staying with me for a very, 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 very long time. Gary Young and Leo Tolstoy, I absolutely adored your work. Thank you for writing these pieces and sharing them with the world. I am so blessed to have read these, and yeah, I love them. Okay guys, so that is my Christmas haul and my year of reading review, with my favourite books, my least favourite books, and my favourite authors. I hope you've enjoyed this, and we're going to be going obviously into a new year in a couple of days, which is absolutely mental already. Cannot believe a year has passed. This is just insane. But now we're going to go on to which books I'm going to be reading next, and I'm going to be doing something slightly different than usual. To find out what I'm doing, you need to go watch my next video where I'll be announcing the first fiction, the first non-fiction that I'm going to be reading in 2018. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to leave me a comment on any of the books that I have mentioned, either in my Christmas haul or my favourite, least favourite books and authors, you can leave me a comment in the comment box below, or if you want to show you think another way, you can give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down, entirely up to you, I'll let you decide, and I will see you guys in my next video. Alright guys, bye!